Just days before the third anniversary of the start of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Washington and Moscow have decided to end the conflict as soon as possible. And to achieve this objective, the U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, agreed this Tuesday to appoint high-level teams to find a solution that is durable, sustainable and acceptable to all parties. This was one of the results of the meeting that the American and Russian delegations held in Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia, and to which representatives of Ukraine or any European country were not invited. The meeting between Rubio and Lavrov was the first of this level to be held since Vladimir Putin launched his so-called special military operation against Ukraine on February 22, 2022. In addition to ending the fighting, the officials agreed to lay the foundation for future cooperation on issues of mutual geopolitical interest and historic economic and investment opportunities that will arise from a successful resolution of the conflict in Ukraine, reads the statement released by the State Department. A phone call followed by a meeting is not enough to establish lasting peace. We must take action, and today we have taken an important step forward, the statement added. From Moscow, for their part, they simply stated that the talks have not gone badly. No one was left out. Once the meeting concluded, which lasted 5 hours, Rubio denied that the absence of representatives from Ukraine and the EU could be interpreted as an exclusion. No one has been left out here, said the head of U.S. diplomacy during a subsequent press conference. And Rubio immediately assured that some very positive things for the U.S., for Europe, for Ukraine, for the world, could emerge from these conversations, but first we must put an end to this conflict. Rubio assured that this meeting is the first step on a long and difficult path to end the war and that he sought to establish lines of communication between Washington and Moscow. For his part, the Russian minister considered that the conversations were useful because we listened to each other. Lavrov explained that in addition to the appointment of the high-level team for Ukraine, he and Rubio agreed to appoint ambassadors to both countries as soon as possible and eliminate obstacles to diplomatic missions, including restrictions on bank transfers. He also confirmed that the U.S. and Russia will work to create the conditions to restart cooperation in its entirety and expand it in various areas. Reaffirming the red lines, Lavrov insisted that Ukraine's eventual incorporation into the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, poses a direct threat to Russia. The head of Russian diplomacy also rejected the possible sending of foreign soldiers to ensure compliance with an eventual peace agreement. The presence of armed forces under another flag does not change anything. Of course, it is totally unacceptable, he declared. Lavrov avoided commenting on the statements of the Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, who in recent days has assured that he will not accept any agreement in which his country does not participate. The Kremlin has insisted that Putin is willing to talk to Zelensky, if necessary. From Turkey, the Ukrainian president has regretted that talks about the war in Ukraine have been held without the participation of Ukraine, and asked his allies not to make mistakes. The Riyadh meeting came days after U.S. President Donald Trump spoke by phone with his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, about the matter. The possibility of both leaders meeting in person in the coming days was described as unlikely by Moscow. We have agreed that a separate team of negotiators will establish contact in due course, said Yuri Ushakov, Putin's foreign affairs advisor. BBC monitoring journalist Vitaly Shevchenko reported.